Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of Straight Up Show Podcast. I am your host, Calvin. I am riding solo today, once again, guys. But no, I'm just kidding. I am riding solo today. It is a wonderful day. This is a new episode, and we're almost through with this season. Like, it's coming down to the end, and I think we've had some great, phenomenal episodes. And if you're a fan of our show, you know that our show is all about equal rights and just learning about different cultures. We've been to Ukraine, we've been to Africa, we've been to France, and we've been all over the globe. And shout out to our international friends that listen to our podcast. And so we want to continue that this season about different cultures and learn things. And going forward, you may hear this in the next season as well, but we want to talk about this new segment I want to go over. We just finished our COVID impact series, but now I want to talk about different cultures because, and I'm an American, and I can say this because I feel like some of us Americans are underneath the rock. Not from Louisiana. I come from the South, and a lot of us are behind the times. And so there is a world outside of America. Just repeat it again. There is a world outside of America. So a lot of people may say that sounds ignorant, but hey, the way some of y'all act, you kind of think so. So I, as an American, can say that. But we have that mentality that it's just us. We're the greatest, we're the best. And, you know, we take pride in our country. So, but that's not just us, though. A lot of people in other countries take just as much pride. So I think that with everything going on in the world, and especially with the protest of 2 years ago with George Floyd, to see the world come together and say something about, hey, this isn't right, it made me want to travel the world and say, hey, what do they think about us? And what do we think about them? So we want to start this brand new segment. It's called Cultural Conversations. And we've had multiple nationalities on our show, multiple countries on our show, but this one is going to be very interesting today because I feel like this is a country and continent, which I'm going to get some clarification on, that I think a lot of people often not forget, but they are just quiet, very quiet. And I'm talking about Australia. When you hear Australia, probably the first thing you think about is, you know, here in America, it's a generic restaurant called Outback Steakhouse, you know, and I'm pretty sure that's not real Australian food, but or you think about kangaroos and stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure it's not all like that. Just like I'm from Louisiana, we don't have alligators all around the house, but, you know, so those are different conversations that I want to have going forward. And so today's episode is all about cultural conversations. And our guest today has been so nice. We are part of a group called Aussie Podcasters Group. And I'm glad to be part of the group because I get to learn and listen to different international podcasts. And I met this person in that group. So without further ado, help me welcome journalist Abbey Smith. Abbey, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. So like I said, we're part of the Aussie podcast group. Does it not seem weird that I'm an American and I'm part of a Aussie podcast group?
I do love it though, because I just think obviously social media can be used for the greater good at most times. And it is amazing to be able to connect with so many people. And like you say, be able to learn different cultures, because there's I've been to America, but there's lots of things that I don't know over there or don't understand. And there would be the same here with you guys. So I think it's great to be able to connect and to be able to teach each other.
Yeah. And it's so crazy because, like I said, we're both journalists. So it's just like, we already got that common bond already, you know. We already both worked in, we know the struggle.
We've definitely bonded.
We know about traveling and being on the road and doing all this other stuff. But once again, thank you for coming on our stage today and, you know, showing us that, you know, we can talk about culture and stuff like that. And before we go further, this is a quick disclaimer. Even though Abbey is Australian, she does not represent all Australians. So what she talks about today is not representing the whole culture as a whole. It's just what she, as an Australian, has gone through in her life, and maybe she can get some shine light on it. So if you are Australian, you don't agree with her, that's just her opinion, and she's telling us her opinion today. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. If my producer was here, Lee, and co-host, he would say, if you have any hate mail, all hate mail can be sent to I don't care at gmail.com. That's I don't care gmail.com. We're just kidding. We love you all. But with that being said, we're going to tackle all of this today. If you're listening right now, if you're on Facebook watching us live right now, feel free to answer any questions, ask any questions, and I'll try to get to them as fast as I can. But let's start right into it. So, Abbey, can you tell us about yourself, where you're from, and what do you do?
Okay, so I'm 32 years old. I've been a journalist for the last 5 years. I'm in radio. I don't want to get into TV. That's not my thing. But I have traveled. I've been all over Queensland, basically. So I left Adelaide, my hometown, when I was 27. I moved 4 times in 4.5 years. And now I'm back home in my hometown and doing Brekkie radio. So 3:30 alarms, which is always fun. But I love it. I absolutely love my job. So yeah, I do that. And then I also have another job. I do marketing and communications for a different company. And they're called Glam Adelaide, and they're a positive news site, and everything that's on or that's happening in Adelaide, we talk about. So anyone from America who's coming to Australia, check out Glam Adelaide.
Okay, so break it down for me. So you live in what city?
I live in Adelaide, so I'm in South Australia. Fun fact, we're actually the driest state in the driest continent. So in South Australia.
Okay. So this is where my geography is about to get messed up. One of my first questions is, okay, so Oceania, is that right? Pronounced. So like, when did this change? Because I was under a rock. I thought Australia as a whole was a continent. Now it's changed to the Commonwealth of Australia, but also Oceania. Like what happened with all that? Because I didn't know.
So we are a continent, but we do, because we are ruled under the Commonwealth, obviously. So we still technically have the Queen as our head of state. But we are a continent, but there is a lot of talk at the moment about whether, once the Queen passes, whether we will become a republic, we'll start to govern ourselves, which we do anyway. We have a federal government, and then we have state governments, but we still obviously have the Queen at the head.
Okay, so you also have a queen. Okay, so it's kind of like our president, kind of, sort of, for those who
that's the thing, though, is that a lot of people are saying, we come under the Commonwealth, but the Queen doesn't, like, it's not like the Queen is ruling or making any decisions for us. We have a Prime Minister who, sort of is across the whole country, but then we also have state premiers who are in each state who make decisions as well. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, especially during COVID. That was an issue, because you had the federal government making decisions, and then the state premiers were making their own decisions. So a bit of a catch-22.
Wow. Okay. Well, I didn't know that. And I want to go, and y'all listen right now, like, I pride myself as being intelligent. Yeah, I did play sports. I'm kind of like a little bit, but with that being said, like, so I'm coming into this whole conversation ignorant, and some is purposely, some is not, but because I want to know, and of course we can't talk about everything in one setting, but I want to come in ignorant so I can learn. Okay, how was it for you, Abbey? Like, how was it just growing up in Australia? Tell us about what it was like growing up. Like, did you, like, because us, growing up, we have different kind of culture and different kind of, like, different childhood memories. Like, how was it growing up in Australia?
Growing up in Australia, I think, is definitely unique. We don't have kangaroos jumping down the street, which was probably a misconception that we're very well known for. But we have this beautiful country, and you're either in the outback, or you're on the beach, or you're living in a city. There's so many different places that you can be living. I guess growing up for me, I was typical suburban. You walked to school, you didn't come, there wasn't phones and mobile phones and things like that. So you just came home when the sun was going down. Mum and dad both worked, and the load was shared. It wasn't mum's at home, dad's working. So for me growing up, it was long summers on the beach and going down to the beach every afternoon after school. School as well, pretty laid back for us. I remember going to school in what we call them thongs, but flip-flops, and I'd go to school every day, and they'd say every day to me, Abbey, where are your shoes? And I go, I can't be bothered putting them on, and I'd stay in thongs all day. So Yeah, I find we're very laid back, and my childhood memories, my best memories, are spending endless summers and endless afternoons down the beach.
Yeah, that sounds like a California type thing. Like when you
Yeah.
came to America, what state did you go to?
I did from the west to the east coast. So I did a top deck tour, and we started in LA and we went down to Vegas, down to the Grand Canyon, went all the way down to, I think it was Miami. And then we flew to New Orleans. And then came up the other side and went up to Washington, and then I ended in New York. So yeah, it was sort of everywhere, I guess. We went to Florida, went to Disneyland. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically all there is to America mostly. But I'm not gonna lie to you. If you went from LA to New Orleans to New York, that's pretty much the highlight, really. Unless you're like
it was amazing. I'd love to come back. It was absolutely beautiful and amazing. And I guess as well, just to understand, what you see on TV is not always the picture that you get, when you go and visit somewhere.
I have to ask you right quick, two things. So how did you like New Orleans?
Loved it. I still remember, I tell this story to anyone who will listen. We did a ghost tour. Mm-hmm. And the gentleman was dressed up with a top hat and a cane and walked us around at night and told us all these different stories. Well, of course, I'm obsessed. I'm actually have gone back to uni to study criminology, and I was obsessed with all these stories. So I got back to the hotel room and I Googled, and of course they're all true. So I'm reading all of this stuff, couldn't sleep that night, gave myself nightmares. And then there was another moment I remember. We were walking through the square, or I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, and there was these two people and they were playing violins, and the woman had a baby strapped to her back. And this music, I still remember, I just got the shivers and I just started crying. It was just absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. These two people playing this music. It was just amazing. And yeah, I always remember those two stories from my travels. And that's what I tell people when we speak about New Orleans.
Yeah, that sounds like the typical idea how it was. And it's crazy because I'm from Louisiana, born and raised, and I don't like going to New Orleans because it just brings back haunting memories. Like, because I went there after Katrina, and it was just like, it's kind of crazy. But my next question is that when I was in LA, I just made my first trip to LA ever, From the way you were explaining Australia, like I don't know what part of LA you went in, but was it kind of like the Grand Canyon and all that stuff? Was it kind of dry like Australia a little bit? Did it remind you of home a little bit, or what?
No, it didn't. LA was a lot bigger than what I expected. And a lot of people in Australia, we think that LA, sorry, I'm going to offend people here. LA's dirty. And so I guess for me, it was the first time I'd been overseas on my own. So it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I absolutely loved it. But I think because you could go and you could, see where, what's that movie? One of the movies was filmed. Then you went and did a tour, and yeah, so I got to see all those types of stuff. I went to Universal. So I really enjoyed it. But a lot of people in Australia when I talk about LA, they go, oh, it's really dirty and it's a bit gross, and I wouldn't have stayed there for that long. So yeah, two different opinions there.
I thought that's what you were going to say about New Orleans, that it was really dirty and
I really liked it. The only thing probably that when we got there, we were told, our tour guide said, girls, don't walk home on your own. And late at night, if you stay out on Bourbon Street, make sure you walk home with someone. So that's probably the only thing of from New Orleans that freaked me out a little bit. But we were all in a big group anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it, really. And we're gonna have more with Abbey. This is our segment today. We're trying something brand new, y'all. It's cultural conversations. We're talking to an Australian, Miss Abbey Smith of Australia. Thank you so much. Stand by. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. Make sure you stay tuned to the Straight Up Show podcast.
I think straight up means to be able to speak in a way that is straight up, to be honest, and to speak your truth.
Raw, uncut, you know what I mean? It's blunt, straight to the point. This is what it is.
It's just a place to be open and honest, and that's what I appreciate most about it. And it provides a place for community members to come together and just be straight up with each other. about things that are going on in the world because it affects all of us.
Unfiltered, raw, with all the cursing that Calvin does.
Straight up is just being real, telling it like it is, being you.
Being solid, being who you are, no matter what it is, no matter what situation you're faced with, right? This is who you are. It really speaks to me, saying it is what it is and it ain't what it ain't. Straight up.
In the 2 years that Straight Up has been a podcast, we've gone to where most podcasts have never gone before. From multiple celebrity guests to groundbreaking episodes, Straight Up is changing the podcast game. And now that season 6 is finally here, we plan to continue leveling up with our exclusive season 6 merchandise. That's right, grab your 80s retro inspired merch today. Just visit our website at straightupshowpodcast.com. That's STR8 upshowpodcast.com. Shirts as low as $19.99. All right, welcome back to the Straight Up Show podcast. I'm your host, Calvin. Today, we're trying something brand new. If you've been listening, we're trying a brand new segment called Cultural Conversations, where we, as a world, really, because we're heard internationally, we learn from other cultures, not just Americans, but if you're listening in Africa, or listening in Australia or in India, we want to learn from each other, because I think that if we learn from each other, I think that the hate that some people are showing, it'll decrease, because I don't think that we're all naturally just violent and all that stuff like that. I think that the biggest thing is that we don't understand each other. So I think that if we have more conversations like this, more straight up conversations like this, that I can slowly but surely we can heal the world. Okay, and that's just my opinion. Once again, a quick disclaimer: our guest today, she is Australian. But her views does not represent everybody else of Australia and Australians. But she has a right to her opinion to say how she feels her country and her continent is. So with that being said, our guest today is Miss Abbey Smith. Thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Okay, so I got a big bone to pick with you right quick. You said that, both of us are journalists, but she said she would never work in TV. I have to figure out, why wouldn't you work in TV? Look, let me tell you, TV is the biggest rush that you can ever go through. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, you know what? I have been asked multiple times to jump into TV or some sort of presenting. So probably maybe my opinion is slowly starting to change. I don't know. I think I'm so, as a person, this is probably too much information. I'm just so self-conscious about myself. And so it's 3:30 in the morning, my alarm goes off, I get up, I do my hair and makeup no matter what to head into the radio station. So I probably could do it, but yeah, I need to build that confidence up, I think.
Hey, you know what? I thought the same thing. And this is beside the point. They told me that I, as a big person, cannot be on TV. Look at me right now. You can't tell me that this face deserves to be on the Tizoob.
Yes,
you see my face? So, hey, people can talk all they want to. Guess what? Look where you at right now. You can't compare nobody else to who you are. You are a beautiful woman. So you want to be on TV? You go be on TV. That's
it. I'm making the jump. Nova, if you're listening, I'm quitting.
Yeah, because trust me, hey, that was one of my biggest, and until this day, it is one of my biggest issues. But you know what? It's once you see my talent, how are you going to look at me? I'm good. So that's my confidence. It sounds kind of cocky, but sometimes you got to pep yourself up and get ready for it. You know what I mean? So,
you definitely do.
I'm telling you right now, it is a rush. It's kind of like on radio when you have a time limit. Well, on radio, you kind of record your segments. So on TV, it's a lot.
I'm live for news, but yeah, I am live. So when there's a stuff up or I press the wrong button and I'm not getting on air, that can be a bit funny. Or you stuff up something that's not great when you're when you're in your hometown. But it is. I guess I've always been like that. I love that rush and that adrenaline, and I'm the same as you.
We had some issue where our producer, we have a rundown, and the whole team looks at the rundown, and so that's how our show runs. And we have to be on TV at 5:00, and the time is running down. It's like 4:45, and we're all getting ready to get on TV, work as a team, and then maybe at 4:51, the producer accidentally deletes the whole 5 o'clock show.
Oh
And
no.
and you know in radio, no matter what happens, once that on air light's going, you have to have something on air. And let me tell you, that was the biggest rush to produce a 5 o'clock show in a matter of 10 minutes. Like that was, and the producer had no idea she did it. So I'm telling you, that kind of rush, there's nothing like it, but it's stressful, but it's nothing like it though. So sorry, y'all. Hey, we got 2 journalists talking, so we know how this is. So this is this is international journalism right here. So Abbey Smith, once again, thank you so much for coming on our show. All right, so one big misconception about Australians is that there's always a kangaroo in the backyard. Like I have to know because like I seen this YouTube video or this TikTok, and this kangaroo is just jacked up and he's punching people. Like, is that how it really is, or is that just one kangaroo that's on steroids? What?
Yeah, so when you turn 10, you automatically get given a kangaroo for your birthday. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there are. Look, probably the sad thing is when I go to work in the mornings now, I'll drive up a main road and there's kangaroos on the side of the road. So I guess the sad part to that is that we are starting to encroach on their natural habitat because we need to be able to house people. No, kangaroos aren't just jumping down the street, but in saying that, there are a lot of instances where someone puts up a quick video on social media and there is literally a kangaroo going down the street. So no, they're not all in our backyard. We aren't giving them for our birthdays when we turn 10, but we're definitely starting to, I think, see them more in, residential areas because unfortunately we're there's more housing developments and we need land to be able to house people. So yeah.
So let me ask you this. Okay, so what's another misconception not only do Americans have of Australians, but the world has of Australians?
Probably our political makeup. Our prime ministers change. We've had there's a lady actually who's turning 105 tomorrow, and she has been alive to see 27 prime ministers in the country. So I feel like, probably our political system, if there wants that we call them a spill. So if somebody wants to take the top job, and they've got the support of the party, that they can go for it and try to take the top job. So probably that would be one. I'm trying to think of others. Throw a shrimp on the barbie or throw a prawn on the barbie. But I think to an extent that's true in Australia because we are this really laid back lifestyle. We have a very laid back lifestyle, and we do in summer. That's what we do is we barbecue and things like that, similar to what Americans do. So that one has a bit of truth to it, I think.
Okay, so and to make sure I got this right, so and you say "aye, mate," is that right? No, is that something?
We say "g'day, mate." A lot of people say that. I feel like that's more a country thing, though. So if you're out in the country, you'll hear "g'day, mate" a little bit more than if you were living in the city.
Like, what's some Australian slang and stuff like that?
So we call flip-flops. I don't know what you call them over there. We call them thongs, which you call underwear thongs. Shrimp to us is prawns. We call them here. One thing that gave us a giggle when I went over to America, when we asked for chips on the side, we got given packets of crisps, but to us, chips are hot chips. So there was a few, I remember sitting down in a diner and a few people on the trip going, why have they given us packets of chips? And then we realized that, chips, that's a different meaning over there to you guys. They're probably my top 3 or 4. Yeah.
Okay. So good day, mate. Like, I just feel so bad just saying I'm like a pirate, or am I saying it right? I'm am I mixing up 2 different cultures? Yeah, definitely. Thongs are definitely a different meaning over here. And look, I'm 32 as well. I hope you're on a Virgo because I'm a Virgo too. So the Virgo
I'm
season.
an Aquarius.
Okay. But I said we have so much in common then. But no, shout out to the Virgo season coming soon. Anyway, but we have so much in common. But when I just found out at my age that people are calling flip-flops now slides, and I'm like, oh, I did not even know my age is showing. Like I'm not of the culture, but I'm getting old. Like I'm I'm just not catching up right now. You know, I'm still.
I'm the same. I'm 32 and I'm old, and I have no idea what all the young kids are saying. Apparently, if you part your hair on the side, that's an old person's thing to do. I only learnt that in the last week, so I'm going to have to change my hair now. So,
you know, it's coming. Right?
One other thing I was going to say actually is we have two things. We always say things like "she'll be right." So there's always this really laid back thing of something bad happened, you crash your car, you know, you lost your job, whatever. Oh yeah, she'll be right. It's just a saying that we all tend to have of, you know, whatever, move on to the next thing. It'll be fine. We'll get over it. So yeah, she'll be right is definitely one. And when we answer questions, so say if you were to say, "Hey Abby, how you going?" We'd go, "Oh yeah, not bad." Like it's always, or you say, "Oh, how's your day?" "Oh, you know, not good." Like we always tend to put "not" in front of a word. So instead of just saying, "Yeah, I'm good, I've had a good day," it's, "Oh yeah, not bad." And yeah, it's a weird, I don't know why we do it, but it's just the way we speak.
And I think, speaking of Australia, the way y'all speak, y'all have some of the coolest accents ever. Like, so there's these. So I'm a big wrestling fan, right? And there are these two Australian wrestlers, female wrestlers, and they're from Australia, and like the way they just talk, it is the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, I just love the accent, and like, I don't know about you if I have an accent, but do you hear it at all or no?
Definitely. We always know when it's an American accent. See, and I think you guys have really cool accents. I think we sound a little bit bogan.
Well, I have the TV reporter accent, so sometimes like my voice can be like, "Dang, what's up? How you doing?" Like it could change, but you know, I'm a personality, so I should be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you know, but like when I'm around friends, I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? What's up? How you know? What's up? How you doing?" You know, like, and I can be different, you know. So you know, don't look at my accent. I got the whole radio, personality type thing. But with that being said, I think that these different misconceptions have really helped us at all. Like, I have to figure out this, okay? How were you impacted? Because 2020 was like that was crazy.
Let's just forget about that.
that was crazy. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the same year y'all had a lot of wildfires, right? In Australia. How was that impactful for you personally? Because at that time, like, I felt 2020 was a crazy year, but I think it was one of the rarest times in our lifetime, since we're both 32, that the globe together was not only mourning because of what happened and with George Floyd and all this stuff, but even to see, hey, this quiet continent of Australia have these massive wildfires. How was that like when you went through that?
All I can really remember, to be honest, I remember working a lot. I was doing a lot of shifts and helping out, and we had multiple places, and the company I was working for before, we have a lot of regional stations, and there was a lot of regional stations impacted, and we needed emergency reports going to air. And I just remember one particular time when I realized then, I need to get myself some help here. I was sitting in the newsroom. I think we had another death, and it was a emergency service personnel. And I just remember sitting on the floor and I just lost it. I just started crying, and I had my next news report coming up in 20 minutes or something. And I reckon I sat there for 10 minutes and I just cried. And I just thought, the world, and Celeste Barber, who some people know, she sort of makes fun of celebrity videos and stuff. She had posted, we need help down here. Australia is on fire. And that's literally what it felt like, that the whole country was just on fire. So I guess for everyone, it really brings out, I talk about it a lot with people who I know overseas, the Aussie spirit. We just, in these horrendous times, and we've had bushfires, we've had floods, we've had all of that sort of stuff, we all band together. And anyone you speak to, they might have lost their home, they might have lost everything, and they will say to you, no, we're fine, go down the road, she's lost more than us, they need more help than us. So at times of crisis, it really shows that Aussie spirit. But I think, no matter who you speak to, somebody or everybody was affected by what was happening. We had these bushfires, then we had COVID, and it has felt for the last two and a bit years, it's just been this struggle for everybody. Everybody has been impacted by something.
That's crazy. And you've been a journalist, and this is one of our Facebook feed questions, okay? This comes from Lori, and Lori asks, as a journalist, do you feel that do you feel that basically as a journalist, do you feel pressures from political figures trying to control the narrative?
Um, yes, to an extent. I guess though, in the roles that I've been in, it's always personally what you want to add into your bulletin. We're not being contacted by the government saying you have to do this. And I always, you quickly learn that you might get sent a press release from the government, but you need to go and you need to find other people and find independent people who will verify that information, who will counteract that information. I have a question I always say to ministers. You're saying this, but what's happening on the ground is this. Why is there such a disconnect? And 99% of the time, they can't give me a not PR spin. So no, I don't feel pressured, but I do think that it's really important for journalists to question. You have to, as a journalist, question absolutely everything. You can't just get a press release and go, "Oh yeah, that's what it is," and go with it. You've got to question these things. I guess though, the COVID pandemic, that's opened up a lot of things, because it started with the health advice is this, we have to go by the health advice. And then, as I said before, the Prime Minister makes decisions, and then the premiers in each state make decisions. So we had states like Western Australia who had closed their borders and wouldn't open their borders, but everybody else was open. So people couldn't reconnect with their families and things like that. So it's a delicate balance, I would say.
And like, because with straight up, and because all of us that you see on our show, we've all worked in media, news, and film, and all that stuff like that. And one of the reasons why we came up with the concept of the show is because we know that people try to censor what not really the truth, but like what the real story is. And I think that was our approach. So here on our show, our motto is that we want to talk about issues that you think about, but you won't hear about in mainstream media. Do you have that kind of freedom, or is there certain when you work for an affiliate or something like that, do you have to not say certain things, not because of political reasons, but just because you have to control not really the narrative, but like just make sure that you don't jeopardize your career as well?
Yeah, I definitely feel that with COVID a little bit, with vaccination rates. It's been get vaccinated, get vaccinated, get vaccinated. 98 or 97% of people have, but there's still people out there, and there's doctors and nurses out there who didn't want to be. But, you can't exactly get on radio and go, "Oh yeah, we're meant to be vaccinated, but don't go and do it because of this, this and this." So for me, that was a bit of a personal struggle between, this is what we need to do as a country to open up and to open our borders. But, there is still that other coin and that other side where people didn't want to be vaccinated and people lost their jobs because they weren't vaccinated. So it was definitely hard.
Did you get attacked like we did? Like, I'm pretty sure, I don't know about you, but we, our previous commander in chief, I'm pretty sure you know who that was. They would always say fake news. Were y'all ever attacked like that as a journalist, or no?
Yeah, I used to so I did on my social media on Instagram every day. I would do a COVID update, so federally, and then if there were, we had sort of different states having massive outbreaks, and I'd do things like that. I'd get hundreds of messages a day sometimes. "Oh, can you help me with this? Can you do this? Can you find out this?" And I would try and help people where I could. But the amount of messages, "Oh, the media's the virus, you're the virus, stop reporting on it and it'll go away." And yeah, so I have been, I have been attacked a few times. Luckily though, never out and about. But just on social media, and usually it's from an account that doesn't have a name on it. So you just sort of delete it and move on. But yeah, it is my favorite is the media is the virus.
Yeah, we call them keyboard warriors or keyboard gangsters.
Yeah, we're the same.
yeah, because you won't say that to my face. You trust me.
No.
Me out of all people, you wouldn't say that to my face, and I'm the nicest guy out there, So like you would say that to my.
I'm fine to have the conversation. If you want to come and say, there's thousands of people who are having adverse reactions or whatever, I will have that conversation with you. But I need, as a journalist, where's the information coming from? Where's the facts? Where's the data? I need that stuff to be able to form a opinion on my own and go, okay, yep, there's another side to this. And I think a lot of people who have said those types of things to me, I say to them, okay, where are you getting that data from? Or where have you seen that? Or where have you heard that? And it's just because they've read comments on Facebook. So to me, I'm a data person. I love data and I love facts. And I need to see that to be able to then form an opinion or to be able to then report, the other side of it as well.
Yeah, and I really agree with those same sentiment as well. So when it comes to international news, and I'm pretty sure you've heard a lot about us, a lot about us. And one thing right now that we're going through is gun violence, and we've had 6 mass shootings since this month already. I think we're at 21 people dead already. Like, how do y'all view gun laws and stuff like that compared to America?
Gun laws, definitely. We just think that it's wild that something hasn't been done before now. John Howard, who was our Prime Minister, he stood up to all the gun lobbies after we had one of our worst mass shootings down in Tasmania. And he said, we're not doing this. We're going to do a gun buyback scheme. And he had a lot of hate for that, but we stamped out, mass shootings happening because we did a gun sort of buyback scheme. Australians, yeah, I think when I told Mum I was going to America, she freaked out. And I think because, for us, when we're talking about America in the news, it's usually because there's been another mass shooting or there's something's happened, that's negative. So a lot of my friends just, can't believe that something hasn't happened, that, and the hard part is as well is that your Joe Biden gets up or your president gets up and says, this is ridiculous, we need to do something, but nothing can happen because the gun lobbies, when you follow the money, they're behind, they're giving money to candidates to run and all that sort of thing. So yeah, Australians are very concerned, I guess. And also just, like I said, think it's absolutely wild that nothing has actually changed in that space. So
with that being said, here comes the pivotal question that I guess the elephant in the room that I've been getting. I've been asked this multiple times already in the chat, but here's the big one. You ready? So, what is your overall view of America and Americans?
Oh, so for me, my overall view is that I believe that there are some big changes that are needed, i.e. gun laws and the Roe versus Wade abortion laws. I feel like we are now in 2022 and it's time to move on and think about new ways of living and think about new laws and things like that. Americans, to me, I always thought you were sort of, rednecks, gun-toting rednecks, I think I said once, which I'm ashamed of now. Because when I came over, I absolutely loved it. You're friendly and I found everyone really funny and really nice. And so, so my opinion obviously has changed, but America as a whole, as a country, many people, and including myself, we just feel like you're living in that past and it's all that, but the Constitution says this. That was written how many years ago? It's time to admit and go, okay, this isn't working anymore. We need to change. We need to move forward.
That's crazy you said that, because I think I feel the same way. And our co-host, I think it's Christina, she's ex-military, and I had another female guest host, and I didn't know so much about abortion laws. And let me tell you, if you want to see me get attacked, as a man, go back and watch that show, because I put myself in line of fire to not know stuff. And when they say, hey, just because you're a man doesn't mean you should know. And that when I say that was, I'm like, oh, excuse me. But after that show, I see how important it is. But to hear you talk about abortion, our laws, and that's an area of concern to you overseas, that shows me how important this is going on in America right now. And that law was 50 years old, and now it's like we're taking steps back, and taking steps back is one reason that I wanted to talk and do this segment, because there was something that happened in 2020 and it broke the world. And it was one man getting killed by police brutality which was George Floyd. And I've been alive 32 years. I've seen Obama. You know, my grandma couldn't vote because she was Black. She couldn't vote because she was a woman. And, you know, so it was a lot in this country to see growing up. And when you see stuff like police brutality of African Americans or people of color, like in your opinion, like what does that really mean to you when you see stuff like that over here in America?
I think that's probably one thing. I was thinking about this before we started talking, actually. We have, there's been, I can't remember the exact number, deaths from Aboriginals being incarcerated, and while they're in jail, they've died. So we have this similar connection with you with, you know, violence against people of color and things like that, and George Floyd. And I think the connection you can see between America and Australia is that when these things have happened, you know, there was rallies over here when the abortion laws went through. The Australia, you know, in every capital city there was a rally for that. When George Floyd died, there was rallies in Australia to highlight that this has happened over in America, but this is happening on our doorstep too. And I think as a collective, if we don't stand up and say to the people who are meant to be working for us, i.e. members of parliament, this is wrong, the laws need to be changed, we need to have better protections for people, or we need to have more rights for people, then nothing changes. So a lot of people get frustrated and think, oh, there's no point in signing a petition, or there's no point in going to a rally because no one listens. Well, they do, but we've all got to do it as a collective, and we've all got to band together. And that doesn't matter if you're living in Australia or America. In Australia, I want women to know that we stand with you, that we think this is ridiculous, that everybody should have access to the right health care that they need, and nobody should be told you have to go and take that baby to full term, because at the end of the day, we have not enough housing, we have high rates of sexual assault, we have high rates of family and domestic violence. So you bring a baby into this world and you're not financially set up, mentally, mental health's not good. Maybe you're not with the father anymore, you've got no family support. It just starts this cycle over and over and over again. So we have Aboriginal deaths in custody, which is just, you know, similar to what goes over in America, what goes on over there. So I think it's more about standing together, and as a world standing up and saying we're not going to take this anymore. Things need to change.
And it's crazy because I feel like that our generation of people, our age, I think that old school mindset is definitely fading away big time, you know, because we're seeing more people being different. And I think once we get those, and I'm gonna say this paraphrasing, I don't care, straight up. If we get these gun-toting rednecks out of office, like it'll be different, because it's like, you know, like I said, I started the show by saying that there's a world outside of America. You know, and to hear that you say that you see these same views in America and you have the same thoughts, that's saying something. So I think that you're onto something, and I like that too. This is a personal question. This is a cultural question. Like, is there a lot of Black people in Australia or what? Because I never see a lot of Black people in Australia. Like, is there a lot or no?
Well, First Nations were the first inhabitants of our continent and our country. So yes, there is, but I feel that they, you know, they're probably not portrayed enough, or they definitely aren't portrayed enough overseas. So you guys probably think that everyone here wears bikinis and lives at the beach, which, yes, to an extent is true. We have a big surfing culture and things like that. But we also, like I said, there's so many different areas to live in Australia, and there's so many different cultures. It's not just, you know, blonde-haired people in bikinis down the beach all summer.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I wanted to say, is there Black people in Australia? I've never seen that before. Like, but no,
we do have a lot of Aboriginal people in Australia. Like I said, they're First Nations. They were the first inhabitants here. So yeah, it's disappointing, I think, that they don't get more. They're not portrayed more, and they don't get more recognition as well. Okay.
Yeah, that's a struggle too. But like, you know, hey, we're still gonna smile. We're gonna be happy, you know. So that's how we're gonna be. But we're gonna have a little bit more with Abbey. We're talking cultural conversations with an Australian, Miss Abbey Smith. She is our guest today. Make sure you stay tuned. We have a little bit more on the other side of the break. Stay tuned. The videos and images displayed all across the world cannot fully express what the people of Ukraine are going through. This senseless act of terrorism has cost many their lives and forced millions of Ukrainians out of their homes. Yet it's the Ukrainians' pride and resiliency that has inspired the entire world. So we here at Straight Up ask you to stand for freedom, stand for human rights, but most importantly, join us as we stand with Ukraine.
Straight Up, we know that all lives matter, but historical events have shown that there is an inverse power dynamic between the races in our country. To highlight this, we present our Black Lives Matter merchandise, because let's be real, some of you don't seem to understand that this isn't the organization, but a message. That message: end inequality towards minorities in America. And just in case that's too complicated for you in English, we have the phrase translated into 10 different languages. Visit straightupshowpodcast.com for this and all our other merch. That's STR8 showpodcast.com. Shirts as low as $19.99.
I'm Sultan Salahuddin from Southside Season 2 out right now. Make sure you tune in to the Straight Up Show podcast because that's where it's happening. You dig?
All right, welcome back to the Straight Up Show podcast. I am your host, Calvin. Hey, this is our cultural conversation. This is episode 1 of what I hope to be an ongoing series where we talk to different cultures about their culture, different people about their cultures. There we go. But today I want to start off with Australians. Like, hey, what is it like to be in Australia? And today's guest, she is from Australia, Ms. Abbey Smith. So thank you once again for coming on our show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. And once again, a quick disclaimer right now that she is Australian, but she does not represent every Australian. So her views and opinions does not reflect every Australian. It's just her opinions and how she has lived as an Australian all these years. So she's given us some views and some opinions and telling us all about the different misconceptions that us as a world get wrong. So Abbey, thank you so much for being open and honest and vulnerable at some points of this podcast. So, Australia is definitely a beautiful place. Look, I went to California. I went to some desert parts of California. And even though I complain about the heat, right now it's 100. First off, this is the American ignorant part of me. And this is also the educational ignorant part, because when it comes to different Celsius and Fahrenheit, if it's not American, I don't want to mess with it. So in Fahrenheit, it is 110 degrees in Texas right now. It is hot. So I'm not for sure how to do that calculation. And I told what I tell you is, hey, look, I'm not good at wet. I'm not good at math. So I cannot tell you what that is that converts into Celsius, but it is 110 Fahrenheit in America right now, or in Texas right now.
Okay, so I'm going to be really cheeky and I'm going to, I want to know what is 110 F in C.
Yeah.
All right. So that means, it is hot over there. So it's 43 degrees.
Yeah. So
Okay.
y'all use, I know for sure y'all use Celsius. I want to know, do y'all use a 24-hour clock or is it 12-hour?
Both.
Okay.
It just depends. Yeah, it just depends. We use both. Yeah, we're Celsius. So 43 degrees is a hot Australian summer's day. That's a as we said before, a bushfire day. Especially if there's winds as well. One thing I find funny is that we would say, the football field is 20.4 meters. You guys say it's 17 zebras long or something like that. Your metric system is quite funny. So, but yeah, we're definitely Celsius over here. Over here at the moment, it's winter. And it's been getting where I am at the moment. It's been getting, like, I leave to go to work at 4:00 in the morning and it's 3 degrees. So it's freezing.
So right now it's cold in Australia right now.
Yeah, so it's winter. Queensland up in the tropics doesn't get, where I used to live, doesn't get as cold. Their winter days are usually about 24, and that's cold for them. But yeah, everywhere else it's winter at the moment. So we're seeing very, very low temperatures.
That is crazy. So okay, are y'all on the southern or northern hemisphere?
We're southern.
Southern. Oh, no wonder.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, no bad. Well, but I did. So I'm telling you, when it comes to geography, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not.
I think there was a video going around a little while ago, and there was a person walking up to Americans with a world map saying, "Where's Australia?" And I think one person out of about 30 pointed to the right place on the map, which we all thought was just absolutely hilarious.
I'm not that guy. I'm just not that guy. So you are born and raised Australian. Can you please tell me what in the heck is a Vegemite?
Oh, I wonder if I've got any in the cupboard, actually. So Vegemite is like this dark, salty spread. And basically, we usually put it on toast in the mornings, and we would put butter and then Vegemite over the top. But there's big controversy with Vegemite because you should have just a light scraping, but a lot of people can get a bit heavy-handed. So sometimes it can be a bit of a bone of contention when especially if you've got a partner or you've just met someone or whatever, and you're starting to get to know each other. You have breakfast the next day, and they put heaps of Vegemite on your toast. That's just weird. So yeah, Vegemite is an interesting thing. Most people overseas do not like it. It's too salty for them.
If you can compare it to any kind of American dish, what could you compare it to, if any?
I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any that is connected. Yeah, well, if there's anything that's super salty, but I can't remember having anything really salty like that while I was there.
It looks like Nutella, but like a burnt Nutella.
Yeah, I was about to say that actually. It's similar to Nutella, but it's more dark, and it's very, very salty. So we put Vegemite on things called like Cruskets. You can have a Vegemite sandwich. I actually put Vegemite on pikelets if I make pancakes sometimes. Yeah.
So Vegemite's kind of like, where I come from, because I grew up poor. So like Vegemite was kind of like a syrup sandwich, or like we would get maple syrup. I'm telling you, we would get maple syrup, put it on bread. That was a good meal.
Okay,
syrup
so
sandwiches.
that's why you probably hate Vegemite so much then.
I haven't tried it yet, but I'm like,
you haven't?
No,
I'm gonna send you some.
Okay, all right, but I'll
send you some,
and I'm gonna do like a TikTok and be like, this is my first time trying some Vegemite, and I want to make sure that. But so it's kind of like y'all. So like where I come from, Louisiana, everybody has a hot sauce in their cupboard. So does everybody in Australia have Vegemite in their cabinets, or?
Vegemite is a staple. And there's been nights you get home from a 12-13 hour day and you cannot be bothered cooking, so you have a Vegemite and cheese toasty, or you just have toast with Vegemite on it. It's just I feel like it's maybe a bit of a comfort thing where it's from your childhood growing up. If you've had a bad day or you're really tired, you just pull the Vegemite out of the cupboard and you whip something up.
Okay, I might have to. Okay, all right. Now, if it's like I'm gonna do a taste test, and I'm like, look, Abby, it wasn't. I gotta see you some hot sauce. We'll trade. I give you some hot sauce, some Louisiana hot sauce. But so, what's some other Australian cuisines because like we have Outback Steakhouse, and like I know that Outback Steakhouse is not, because when I came to Texas, they have Louisiana restaurants, and it is trash. If you're watching me right now, y'all's restaurants are trash in Texas. But like so. I'm pretty sure that the Australian restaurants here is nowhere compared to what it is like that. What are some cuisines or some dishes that you all love? It's kind of like your vice.
Definitely, if you're heading to the pub, a chicken palmy. So a chicken, and it depends where you live. Once again, a chicken palmy is a chicken schnitzel, so a piece of chicken that's been crumbed and deep fried. Then usually on top you have almost like a tomato sauce or like tomato paste with herbs and spices in it, and then cheese over the top, and it's put into the grill. So that's one thing, and you usually have that with chips and salad at the pub. That's a very Aussie Aussie dish, but in other places you would have that, but they would add ham onto it. So if you live in the eastern states of Australia, you would have a chicken palmy with ham. If you live anywhere else, we don't do it with ham. We just do it with the paste and the cheese. Another thing would be, have you ever tried Tim Tams?
Nope.
Okay, so Tim Tams are these amazing little chocolate sort of individual biscuits. I'll send you some of them too. But yeah, Tim Tams are absolutely amazing. So that's definitely an Aussie thing. Yeah, I'd say probably the biggest one would be a chicken palmy.
What is your guilty pleasure? Like mine is cheese. Like I'm a cheese crackhead. We call it like cheese crackhead. Like I love cheese. It's like I love cheese. But like, what's something that you can't, your vice or something that you just love so much?
Pasta and chocolate. I'd have pasta probably once or twice a week, and chocolate, if I could, I'd have it every single day. I get a sweet tooth from my mum and my nana.
Hey, you know what? I do too. And Mama, if you're watching this, my mom used to be a pastry chef, so my mom, yeah. So yeah, so you know, a lot of that has to do with her, but I'm just kidding. But no, that's so crazy. Like, so if I come to Australia, like as an unknowing person of the culture and stuff like that, as an Australian, what's one place that I have to go visit when I'm in Australia?
I feel like we don't really have any big chain restaurants that's just Aussie food. So I do feel like we're very different in that aspect. But we don't have these big massive chain restaurants. We used to have a place called Sizzlers. That'll give a laugh to anyone from Australia. Sizzlers used to be all over the country. But yeah, it's more so here you have an Aussie pub, or we have a lot of pubs, sorry. So heading to any pub to have a chicken palmy or a burger or a steak with chips and salad, that's more of, I would say that's more our sort of culture and something that, you can do when you get here.
Okay. So so when you're not working and stuff like that, what's something that you do for fun, or besides I don't know if you go to the beach every day, but what's something that you do like nightlife, or like what's that like?
So I used to, when I was living in Queensland, I'd head to the beach sometimes in the afternoons after I'd finished work. For me, I've got two sisters, so they've got 3 kids between them. So I'm Auntie Abbey a lot of the time. But it's always, I guess, for us going and finding things to do. So in Adelaide, we've got the Barossa, which is wine. That's God's wine country, I'll call it. So you head up there, you go to a winery, you might have a long lunch or something like that. We head out to new restaurants or things like that. In my 2 jobs as well, I get invited to a lot of events. So there might be the opening of a restaurant, or there might be a fashion show, or there might be something like that. But I think we're very good at, especially my age group, going out for brunch or finding somewhere new for lunch or things like that. And then obviously, in summer, it's definitely straight down to the beach.
You want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
Like, that is exactly what we do.
Oh, you don't go out and have shooting practice and targets and stuff like that?
Some people do, not me. I don't do that. Where I grew up, I saw enough of that. I'm good, you know. But no, but seriously, like trying new restaurants and definitely wineries and pubs and stuff like that. And it changes when you get our age. It's like, because I used to be a DJ too, so I mean, I used to be just, and like now it's just like, you know what? I got like 5 hours of like freedom. So what's up? You know, and it's crazy, but that's so funny to see that when stuff like that our cultures mirror each other. That is so cool to hear that. So like I know we have different holidays in America, like Thanksgiving and stuff like that. Like, what's some holidays in Australia that we don't know about that maybe that y'all celebrate that we don't?
So we have Australia Day. We're a fan in Australia also of long weekends, which means that you get Monday off work because of and now I've always worked long weekends because I've just been in roles where it's required me to. I was also in hospitality for 10 years. So we have Australia Day, that's January 26th. We have a June long weekend because that's when the Queen's birthday is on. In Adelaide here, we have an Adelaide Cup Day. So that's when the horses are racing at a particular race course. So everybody gets a day off for that. Probably one that's quite funny is we have in Melbourne, they have a public holiday for the AFL Grand Final. So the Friday before the AFL Grand Final, because it's usually held on a Saturday, Melbourne gets Victoria gets a public holiday for that. So we do have some quirky ones, but as I said before, all the states can be different. So Queensland, where I used to live, they celebrate the Queen's birthday on a different day to the rest of the country. So then we're at work and working, and everyone else or most other people are having a day off for the Queen's birthday. So yeah, chops and changes.
Some changes. I like that. I got to do it to you. I got to do it to you. So, like, our foreign exchange students from Ukraine, and shout out to Ukraine. We're still praying for y'all. But I made her say this, so I gotta make you say it too. You got to do it for me. Say y'all.
Y'all.
Sorry, I'm from the South, so like, and just to hear y'all say y'all, like what? So it's like you all, but y'all, so that's just like most like
you wouldn't hear anyone say that over here. If you did, we'd look at them and go, "What's wrong with them?"
must be American. Like, so what's okay? Just name something that the American culture that you just love, or maybe it could be a celebrity, a dish, or what's something in American culture that you just love and that attracts you.
I think probably America to me is like the home of hustlers. Like, you can come from nothing and you can make something of yourself, and the country is so big. I love people who, they started in a small country town and they ended up in New York. I met a few people when I was there who, their journey and to where they've gotten to be. I feel like America is just this massive land of promise, and you can be anything that you want to be. When it comes to celebrities, I don't know. I'm not a huge pop culture person, which isn't good. I should be better. I don't know. It's Julia Roberts. She's from America, isn't she? She's my number one fave. Yeah. Pretty Woman. That's the movie I was trying to think of before. So yeah, Julia Roberts, I've always had a soft spot for. I've always loved her.
Fun fact. So I used to watch Pretty Woman as a kid, not in the background, not knowing what it meant. And it's funny how you look at that movie now as an adult. It just changes. You're like, oh, that's what was going on. Did not know. Wow, that's why they call her Pretty Woman. I'm sorry. That's my side piece about that. Like same with Forrest Gump. I didn't know who Jenny was, but that's why Jenny died. Didn't know.
Yes, actually, funny you should say that. I rewatched Forrest Gump the other day, and same thing. I was like, I didn't pick up on any of this the first time I watched it.
We call it our adult ears. You know what I mean? Like the adult ears, like, oh, that's what that meant. Oh, okay. I used to be a big Queen fan, and I said, what happened to Freddie Mercury? Oh, I didn't know. Like, just I watched this, y'all. So one of my favorite Australian celebrities, not favorite, but the ones I know, is Patty Mills, played basketball player, and of course Iggy Azalea. But how do y'all feel about Iggy?
Yeah, Iggy's been quiet lately. She got herself, I think, in trouble with a few comments, and unfortunately, in this day and age, there's cancel culture and all the rest of it. So yeah, we haven't really heard much from her lately. Patty Mills is like someone that you just, no matter who you are, no matter what you think, no matter what sport you play, anything like that, Patty Mills is just hug him.
Yeah, I love Patty Mills. And it's crazy because I feel like the culture. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No, go. No, go.
I feel like when I see him, he's so quiet and just reserved. I'm like, and I feel like that's how Australians are, just really quiet and just reserved. So
I think he's really humble as well, which is nice. And it's nice when celebrities, they know where they've come from, I guess. And I'm a big fan of no matter what, helping people. So if someone reaches out to me and says, I really want to get into journalism, I'll always invite them and say, okay, come and see what I do. Come and sit in with me for the day or for the morning. So yeah, I'm a massive fan of giving back and helping the next generation. And Patty Mills is the epitome of that.
Wow. I'm the same way too. Same with the podcast. I'm like, look, y'all, I do a podcast and I'm like, it's nothing to me, but you can watch it. You may not get it all, but hey, it's something, We're wrapping things up here with Abbey Smith, journalist out there in Australia. We're having our conversational culture conversations And she's been a great guest so far. I want to know, from you being proud of where you come from and stuff like that, and the people who are listening internationally, what's something about Australia that you want people to know and love about?
I think Australia is, we live in this beautiful country, number one. Number two, we want to see everybody given equal opportunity. So things to do with, we have healthcare, we have a thing called Medicare, where you can go to the doctors and it's put back onto Medicare and you're not out of pocket and things like that. Our education system as well, all kids are given the opportunity to go to school, and I always say education is key. Education is just so powerful. So yeah, I think for Australia, we're so multicultural. And it's the land of have a go. Our old Prime Minister used to say, everyone can just have a go at what you want to do. And I do believe that that's something that, anyone across the world should know, that you can come here and you can have a go and you can live wherever you want to live. And, 99.9% of people are super, super friendly, and will help each other through no matter what's happening, whether there's floods, bushfires, whatever's going on, we're always there to help each other.
And that goes to you as well, because this episode was super rushed. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, Abby. This is probably the biggest 24-hour turnaround that I've ever had, because right now it's a whole day later, but it's almost 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock p.m. and it's a whole day later. It's over here. I'm just now getting off work and it's still a little bit daylight outside, but on the next day. So it's just so weird how it comes together, and just to show your hospitality and your humbleness to come talk to me, that shows a lot about you and your culture. And I hope that if you are a listener right now, that you are learning from this culture, because definitely amazing people. Can't wait to try some Vegemite.
Yes, you're gonna have to give me your address when we get off here.
Yeah, and vice versa, and I'll see you some stuff too. But this is what it's all about, everybody. Just learning from each other, and learning slowly but surely, kind of get rid of these different misconceptions culturally, and then we come to the table and learn to talk to each other. And I hope that when we come to the table to talk to each other, we learn from each other, and eventually, at the end of the day, we learn to love each other. Abbey, thank you so much for coming on the show today. If you want to promote yourself, how can people reach you or follow you on social media or all that?
Yep. So probably, my Instagram page is Abbey from the Newsroom, because obviously I am in the newsroom every morning. So that's fun. I'm also on Facebook as Abbey Victoria. We were talking about this before, and this might give me the little kick that I need, but I am starting a podcast. It's called The Stories We've Told, and it's speaking to journalists about the biggest stories that they've reported on and the impacts that it's had on them. So it's not out yet, but it is coming soon. So if you do want to follow me, I'm sure you will see it very soon when I go and start cutting it all up and doing it.
Well, if you ever want to talk to me about one of my stories, I'm here.
Perfect.
If you need me.
Let's do it. Yes,
Yeah.
That would be great.
And I would like to extend an invitation for you to come back on the show anytime you want to come back and talk to us about the culture. Not even about that, just what you're going through, and let our listeners listen to you and you just see how awesome you are. So once again, Abbey Smith, all the way from Australia, thank you for coming on the Straight Up Show podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, ma'am. And so that's the end of our show. Like I said, once again, we want to continue the conversation on our social media pages. You can follow us online at Straight Up Show Podcast 318. My bad, StraightUpShowPodcast.com. So I can't talk today. StraightUpShowPodcast.com. I always mess this up every episode. Wow. StraightUpShowPodcast.com is the official website. There you can look at all our merchandise, previous episodes, look at our guests, stuff like that, and just keep the conversation going. If you want to support us, go to our Patreon page.com, patreon.com/StraightUpShowPodcast 318. That's patreon.com/StraightUpShowPodcast 318. We have different tiers there. You can support us if you want to, but if not, just join the conversation, talk with the table, sit at the table, talk to us, learn from us, and then we can love each other after that. Till then, that's the end of our show. There's only one rule to our show. You gotta be
straight up.